my cold open, just me coughing. No,
Are you okay, Caitie? Are you fine? We don't know. Whenever we release this, we won't know. And number 2, we won't know if everyone's okay.
Yeah, actually, the world's gone. Sorry. No. So since we're pre-recording a couple episodes for when the baby's born and all that, we thought a really good topical topic would be Animal Crossing.
That's true.
Because that's going to be still popular. Whenever, I don't know, what is this, June, July-ish, maybe even August, who knows. But yeah, so which do you also want to talk about Zelda? Because that's also what you've been playing a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, Animal Crossing is going to be popular forever, and Zelda, despite the fact that it's 3 years old as we record this, it's got long legs, I say.
So I guess what I want to start out with is I have been an Animal Crossing fan since the GameCube version, because that's the earliest American release. And I can't tell you how surprised I am at how popular this series has gotten.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
This Animal Crossing game was going to be big because it's been like the last Animal Crossing game came out when we were 2013, 2012 or something like that. It's been quite a while. So like a lot of fans are really waiting for this game, which not including Pocket Camp or Amiibo, whatever, because who cares about those? But so it was going to be big with like the fans, and like it's a huge stable of whatever. And I think just with the stuff with the virus, it just went nuts. Like people like, oh, comfy game, I need comfort, and so they just like impulse bought it. So like there's like a lot of new people in the series, which like is good. But I've always felt like Animal Crossing was kind of like the it's kind of a weird game, and like it doesn't have like a ton to do. So you really have to like it's an acquired taste. I always thought. I think the current New Horizons is a little bit better, like adding more features and stuff to make it more traditional game than some of the other predecessors have. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been so strange, like seeing it everywhere. Like it's always trending on Twitter. It's always, at least right now, which we say we're currently still in April as of recording this. But yeah, I've just been so surprised about this. I've like how many people have gotten it. Like some friends of mine who like have a Switch but don't really care for like those types of games just got it because it was so popular. I'm like, you would not you don't like this game. And they're like, yeah, it's all right. I'm like, yeah, this is not this is not the game for you, my dude. So I don't know. Now you've been playing a little bit of it. How have you been enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm the total opposite end of the world. I've never played an Animal Crossing before. I think I've maybe seen someone play an Animal Crossing on DS for like a few minutes. I mean, I've never gone and really watched gameplay videos. So I knew nothing about it going in, and I gotta say I'm enjoying it. I like it. I think it's a fun, like you said, sort of relaxation game. I get it. I can't remember the exact moment that I was playing where I really said to myself, I get it. Maybe sometime when the first time your house gets a little bit bigger and you can reasonably kind of decorate it a little bit. No, the museum as well. When the museum first opened up, I'm like, oh, this is really kind of cool, right? Like it's taking that collection aspect of it, and it's literally sort of building you a monument to all of these little tiny, even if you just catch a fish or whatever, right? Like it's sort of making a monument to all of these things that you've done. There's a piece of Skyrim DLC that kind of does something very similar, and I always thought that's a great way to sort of memorialize all of these seemingly grindy aspects of a game, and to sort of pump them up to this sort of grandiose status. I think it's great. It's quaint, it's fun. Like I said, I totally get it. It's never going to be my main go-to cup of tea, but after having played it for a couple days, and especially seeing my girlfriend like completely fall in love with it, I'm like, I get it. I understand.
Aw, how is she liking it?
She likes it a lot. She loves flowers. I mean, she loves a lot of things. Like, we have the same island, which is really her island. Like, I sort of let her take the Switch for the week because she's been playing it a lot more than I have. And I switched to playing Breath of the Wild via emulator. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Oh, I didn't know it was via emulator.
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. I mean, I have the game on Switch. I use emulators for games that you legally own, folks. But yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, no, she's into everything. Her house is way nicer than mine. She has way more stuff. She's got way more DIY recipes. She's really been, she's rich. I mean, this is what I consider to be rich. She's got like a few million bells or whatever it is. She's just been really into it. She loves flowers. She's got like a whole goddamn field of flowers, and she started researching how to cross crossbreed, how you combine the flowers and stuff.
Uh-huh.
She's totally new to it also. She's never played one before, but she's getting interested in that now. So
you got to get that 5-star rating for your island so you can get the Lily of the Valley flower.
Oh, wait, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, so I might have the name wrong of the flower, but it's like this really pretty flower that only sprouts on your island randomly once you have 5 stars.
Oh, interesting.
So, hey, tip there.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Yeah, no, it's weird that like a lot of the stuff that people really like about this game like is kind of new. Like crossbreeding's kind of old in museums, but like this is the first game you've been able to like edit the layout of your island this much. Before it was like preset. Like in the GameCube, like you couldn't even lay down path. The GameCube game is always like you look back on it and go, "Wow, people played that."
Oh, yeah. It's really limited in comparison.
Yeah. Now, it does have the museum and does have, like, the Nook shop and whatever. But, like, you couldn't really change your clothes. Like, if you were a boy, you were stuck with, like, this thing that sort of looked like a baseball cap, but not really. If you were a girl, you had a cone hat and a dress. And, like, the only thing you could change is the pattern on that. You couldn't change what it looked like or whatever. Your face was sort of randomly generated. You could, like... at the beginning of the game, you had to answer like a questionnaire, and that questionnaire determined your face. So like they're like
interesting,
like, and you couldn't change your face either.
Interesting.
And you walk in there, you get a job from Nooks, and the tutorial, like the New Horizons tutorial, I think lasts for like almost 2 weeks. I would say, where like pretty much all the other tutorials for the game last like I don't know maybe a couple hours, and they just let you loose and say happy birthday. But, like, in the GameCube version, I think you do have some crossbreeding of flowers, but it's, like, nowhere near anything today. But there's only, like, maybe, like, 2 or 3 flower types. You do have some fishing and bugs that you can put in the museum, and you have a house to pay off, and that's it. You can't really decorate your town. You do have weeds you have to pull, but, like, you can't pull down paths or anything. You pay off your house, and you decorate your house, and that's kind of the game.
Right.
And I loved it as a kid. And I don't know, it's like looking back, like, man, I feel like if I went back to the GameCube version, it'd be really hard for me to go back just because, like, so many good features have been added that, like, going back is definitely a struggle. I will say, though, the mood is completely different of the GameCube. Like,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So it's, I almost want to say it's also, like, time specific because, you know, this is, like, 2006 maybe or something. And, like, video games and the internet had like this weird relationship where like a lot of rumors about games would come out and like you didn't know if they were real or not.
Sure. Yeah.
And like what was really interesting that it was actually kind of recently where I found out like some rumors were technically true because they were true in the Japanese version of the game but not the American version of the game.
Huh.
So like people would be like, "Oh, here's screenshots or whatever," and you think they're doctored. And like, no, you just don't have the right version. Like for years, I thought like one of them was in the Japanese version. If you hit your shovel on Nook's store, he'll actually open up in the middle of the night, and you could buy stuff. You can sell and buy stuff from him. Where in the American version, you couldn't do that. So for years, I'm like, I want to sell some fish. Let me in. And like it never worked. And I just thought it was fault, but not really. But like there was something about the GameCube that was like more mysterious and like kind of creepy almost because you didn't quite know what was going to happen. It wasn't like it. Oh, also the villagers were a lot meaner. Like you should look up some of the dialogue. Like they'll like straight up like steal your stuff.
Interesting.
From your pockets. They'll like very clearly insult you. Where like nowadays it's like they say nothing but fluffy fluff. Like it's kind of
right.
The GameCube is like really bizarre in a way, and like it's since kind of grown lighter and cuter. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just looking back on it, you did not think like, oh, this weird game is going to have a cult following and then grow into this mass phenomenon that is. I think now, like, the digital sales of Animal Crossing has sold more than Pokemon and Brawl combined.
No way.
Yeah, it's, like, crazy numbers.
That is insane.
Mm-hmm. It's
because Pokemon is a world. I mean, they are at the top of the all-time list pretty much all the time. Once a particular Pokemon game has been out for a few years, it's near the all-time list.
Yeah, but Animal Crossing has just crushed it.
Holy shit!
It's like a ridiculous amount of sales. You might want to Google the exact numbers, but like that it was something like that. It's absolutely nuts what's going on. But like
that's
good for them.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Animal Crossing New Horizons launch sales surpass any Mario or Zelda in the U.S. Holy shit!
Yeah, it's this game. Like, there's a reason you think everyone's playing it because everyone is playing it right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like, I love shit like that. I love because it's always been niche, right? And so I love when something niche kind of pops and gets that mainstream appeal.
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy. There's a tweet from Chrissy Teigen who's playing it. Of course, Daniel Radcliffe. That's kind of famous now.
Not Daniel Radcliffe. It's the other guy.
It doesn't matter. They're all the same. Elijah Wood?
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It was Elijah Wood. Whatever. They're all a bunch of dweebs. Frodo, Harry Potter, who cares? He went to someone's island, and that was a big deal. And I'm sure that must have been really cool to just... I assume, it is... We don't know when we're going to release this, but as we're recording it, we're... the end of April. It feels like we're still kind of in the midst. I don't know if we're still in the peak, knock on wood, but we're in the middle of COVID-19 and a lot of, pretty much all the cities should still be pretty much on lockdown, etc. And I think Animal Crossing, whether or not you're playing online or whether or not you're playing couch co-op the way me and my girlfriend are playing, or you're just talking to your NPCs, it's probably making people feel a little bit more connected. Which I think is kind of like a balm that people really need right now. And it's also just like a neat little homemaking game, which kind of makes people feel more comfortable than in their real life where they maybe feel trapped in their home.
Yeah. Which is like, I've seen stuff on like Twitter and the subreddit for the game. Like people are hosting like graduation ceremonies because theirs got canceled, or like little funerals because like you can't have funerals right now.
So sad, yeah.
Like weddings, like just real life events because they can't do anything else. And it's just, little did we all know that Animal Crossing right now is probably, I would say, the most fortuitous game of all time because it happened to release at the exact moment where to speak of everyone, I guess, everyone who loves this game needed it, Like... at least for the city I'm in, Animal Crossing released, there was a day and then everything shut down. There was no more, like, you could not leave the house anymore. So, like, it came in the nick of time, and, like, there's people all around the world just, as you say, it's a breath of fresh air to, like, go run around your island and whatever. Now, I'm a homebody, so it's like, I don't know, I've been doing okay, but...
Sure, yeah.
But, yeah, it's crazy just how popular... It will be interesting to see... Not so much the sales, but like how, because right now it's kind of in like the cultural zeitgeist of what's going on in the world, how quickly that will fade after all of this is over, or if it will, or if it will still be a huge deal to a lot of people. Because like, I guess coming from the therapy perspective of whatever is going on right now, like, there's probably going to be a lot of people, like, there's still a lot of people who are immunocompromised. Like, COVID's not going to go away. We just have to open up because we can't just sit around here, unfortunately, being safe. Like, things have to happen. So, like, there's going to be people afraid to, like, leave their house. Like, are we going to see a big peak of agoraphobia and, like, stuff like that? Like, what's going to happen?
It's crazy because we don't know. We don't know. We are literally in the span of our history, we are in an unprecedented situation, and that freaks people the fuck out. It doesn't matter how we have great experts, and I'm glad we have experts who are trying to figure it out. But most of the time, there's some type of precedent that you use to develop a pattern for this, and we have no precedent.
So it's, in this time, Animal Crossing just happened to come in and at least give some people a sense of comfort. And, like, it's, for some, like, for me, it's a big nostalgia fest. Like, I got extremely fortuitous, and, like, one of my favorite villagers is Goldie. I've had Goldie since the GameCube. She's, like, this little cute little dog, golden retriever thing. And I didn't have an amiibo card or anything. She just moved in randomly to my town, and immediately I was like, "Oh, Goldie!" Like, just all these nice mushy feelings from my childhood came back. So, like, for me, Animal Crossing is something of nostalgia, where for other people, it's just like, I can at least pretend I'm going outside and gardening and doing these things and visiting my friends, all that sorts of stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I know we kind of repeated this, but like, just I can't think of a game release that was better set than Animal Crossing New Horizons, and it was pushed back too. It was supposed to come out, I think in time for Christmas. I want to say like that's not the original release, and it just got pushed back. And whoever pushed that back is like, ooh man,
being dodged of a bullet.
Yeah.
And it's also really interesting because when you talk about a cultural zeitgeist, it just seemed to have no competition and no dispute for the title of best quarantine game.
Yeah.
Right? Like every game that comes out has a particular lane that you're trying to push into. So if somebody says, this is the best new RPG, somebody goes, that's not the best RPG. It's this other game that came out 3 months ago, or first person shooter or sports or whatever. But, Harvest Moon and there's other Animal Crossing like games. But as far as new kid on the block in this genre, if you will, nobody disputes it, right? Everybody, even someone like me, will hear someone else say it and kind of know the general premise of it even before I played it. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably a great quarantine game. We all just kept repeating that.
And
it helps.
I would also add, like, if this was any other Animal Crossing game, I don't think you would do as well, because this is the Animal Crossing game that has the most control over the island, and I think that's something people need right now. Like in the GameCube game, like people could the villagers can come up with like, hey, that's a nice furniture you have there, thanks, and they just take it. Like how frustrating that would be. So if you ever see someone who really hates an animal, they probably have played since the GameCube. But
yeah.
So but in here, like you can edit your town layout. There's so much control you have over the island, and I think that's so important for why this is so popular. Because people need to have some sort of feeling of control over something, because they can't control anything right now.
Yeah. So. It's one of the safest, calmest sort of power fantasies in a weird way, which is kind of a weird thing to call it, but it is a power fantasy. And it's got, I don't know, it's got just the right of challenge in the form of wish fulfillment. You and I both tweeted out somewhat satirical. I mean, I'm like half joking, half serious about how we're Team Tom Nook.
Oh yeah.
There are those tweets out right now about how he's a capitalist pig and all this other stuff. Kind of, I don't know what to say about those people exactly, but I think that there's something to that even when people complain about it, because it feels good when you pay off a loan. You know what I mean? Like, I've paid off a couple car loans in my life, and there is something kind of nice about making that final payment and going like, I did it. I'm an adult. I took part in this process, and I did the right thing, and I paid back the money. It's a neat little kind of a wish fulfillment. Everyone has the same reaction when you go from the first loan to the second loan, and you go, "Oh my God, it's so much bigger now." Whatever. This is a scheme, but in reality, it's a neat. It takes you a few days or a week of playing again before you pay off the next thing, and that's kind of a neat little miniaturized, shrunken down aspect of real life. I think it probably just makes people feel nice, whether they know it or not.
There is something about there's a name for it and I'm blanking on it, but just like the process or idea of just like little goals you can achieve throughout the day, and like how rewarding that is. Of just like even if you're not paying off your house, like right now, my biggest thing have just been like setting up the layout. So I've had to pay like $50,000 or bells, if you will, to move around the villagers' houses. So it's just like every day, like, oh, I finally have enough money to move that house today. Oh, I finally got that DIY I wanted. Like just one little goal a day. Like, oh, I found a new fish. Just like every day you can at least do one thing that gets you that much closer to where you want to be. And like that's so addicting. It really is. And that's why things like those like phone games where you unlock like characters you like or whatever.
Totally.
That's kind of the same concept. There's a name for this, and it is just gone from my memory, and it's driving me nuts.
What, for the phone games?
No, like the concept of like little goals that make you addicted.
Oh, I know what you're talking about though. Yeah.
Baby brain, it's killing me. Okay, but
it's a type of progression, but it's got a specific name to it. Yeah.
It's gone. Bye. Well, anyway, how's Breath of the Wild emulator? Are you playing as Shrek? Are you?
So I'll tell you, there are some very interesting mods when you play on emulator. I think that might be something interesting to play around with if we ever want to stream something, maybe for like a short series. But no, first of all, Breath of the Wild, I know that you played it. Well, I didn't realize that I did not get very far into that game at all. So I basically restarted, because when you go to emulator, you can't transfer the saves or anything. So I restarted, but I was shockingly early into the game. despite the fact that I think I played maybe like 20 or 30 hours, like when I first got the game, and I hadn't done shit. I think I literally just spent 20 or 30 hours just like walking around, exploring, like trying to find better weapons.
Did you not
trying
do
to get
any
better
of the
combat.
Divine Beast or anything?
I did none of the Divine Beast. And
Really?
I probably on my Switch save file, I was probably close to having done like 30 or 40 shrines without ever having done any of the main quest.
Wow.
Like I just kept looking for shrines because here's what I think if I was to try and summarize down the brilliance of Breath of the Wild. There's so many different things you could say and so many different aspects of the game that you could talk about. Here's what I think this game does better than any other game. Go to the top of a hill, see what you can look at, go to the next thing. You can do that for hours. That could be any game, but I literally think that a key part of their design is sightlines. Like anytime you're up on an elevated place, you've always got sightline to multiple other things where you go, that looks interesting. I wonder what that is. And then by the time you go over there, you're either on another place that's slightly elevated, or you can see another hill or a mountain or someplace where you go up, and then you see another thing, and you go, oh, there's a tower. So you go to the tower, and of course, when you're up on the the towers that you climb to open up another part of the map, you can see multiple shrines, and then you can see some little nook or cranny, a base of bokoblins or something, and it's just endless. I think it's better than any game I've ever played ever. At going up to a high place, seeing something interesting, rinse and repeat, and I can just do that for hours and not get bored. So I think that aspect of it is, and that's why, early on I did not get very far on my Switch file at all. Do you remember how far, like roughly, had you done a couple of the Divine Beasts, or like how far you got on your file?
So we haven't played in a couple months because I got into some other game in the meantime and we got sidetracked. Doesn't matter. Point is, but we got all but the camel Divine Beast.
And the Gerudo. Gerudo. So interesting. That's the first one I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We did the So I had read that we got a house somewhere. So Michael's like, I want to get a house. I don't know why both of us were like, house.
Dude, it's so satisfying. I have it totally maxed out now. It's so great.
That was one of the first things. So we got a house, and like because you're kind of close to the fish people, we just went off there and kind of went around a circle that way. I think it was one of those like after we did the elephant one, which is the fish people. I forget. Rio. Fuck. What are they called? Zora.
The Zora's domain is the fish people. The Rito are the birds.
Yes. So we saw. From the Zora place, we saw like the flying dragon thing.
Oh, they're so great. There's 3 of them, but I think probably Farash is the electric one, and then I forget the names of the other 2.
Yeah, I don't remember the names either, but it was the one that was circling the lava thing that caught our attention. So we went over to the Goron place, like, what is this dragon? And like it turned out to be something completely different. And then we're like, oh wait, it was one of those, like, as we're getting closer to this mountain looking for the flying dragon, we suddenly noticed that there was something on the mountain, and it was the other Divine Beast, the lizard, and we're like, what the heck? So then we had to go investigate that, and then from there we saw the bird, and so like it just kind of went that direction. But yeah, so we whenever we do go back to it, because we will. We just have to do the Divine Beast and then the end of the game. And then we do have the DLC for I don't remember what it's called, but it's like Ballad of the...
Oh, there's 2 ballads.
Yeah.
Do you have the Trial of the Sword? Is that the one?
We have both of them.
Okay, you have both. Okay.
So we did try the one, I think it's the sword one, where you're given nothing and you just have to like keep going further and further and further.
Yes.
We actually tried that one because we didn't know how hard it would be, and we actually got pretty far. We got almost far enough to like unlock something cool. I forgot what it is now, and then like we both died, and we're like, we rage quit and go do something else. But
so I actually just finished Trial of the Sword this weekend. I did the whole thing, all three stages. I did it with 13 hearts, which is I think that's the lowest that you can do it with, because that's how much you need to get the Master Sword.
Mm-hmm.
Hard as fuck, but maybe not as hard as I expected. Some people said like don't even attempt it until you've got 20 hearts or whatever. I'm like, nah, you can manage to do it. But I loved the challenge of that DLC in a lot of ways. I think it's one of the best DLCs I've ever played, because it captures the essence of at least one aspect or a big aspect of Breath of the Wild, which is surviving with very little scavenging and picking up and learning to use basically any weapon you can get your hands on. In so many other games, you get your favorite gear and then you keep that gear forever. But in Breath of the Wild, minus the Master Sword, everything else breaks. And so part of what you have to always end up doing is like, okay, I may not like spears, but I have to learn how to get good with spears, or I may not like heavy two-handed weapons, but I've got to know how to use whatever I've got. And that DLC to me is that microcosm perfectly distilled down. Whereas like you start off the game very vulnerable. Eventually, you get your Korok seeds and you start to upgrade your inventory. You start to amass a pretty big, like, what's the word I'm looking for? A stockpile of weapons. Yeah, you've got a bunch of weapons and a bunch of shields, and so that fear of sort of running out of stuff kind of goes away. And I love the fact that the DLC puts you right back at square one, naked Link with a fucking branch.
Have fun, kids. It's basically that.
So I love that DLC as well.
That's a good one, yeah. We haven't even attempted the other one. The one where it's like a story DLC. It has like a name to it. I always forget what it is.
I haven't done that one either as well. Yeah, I've got both the packs, and I haven't done that one either.
Well, I think that one you have to finish the Divine Beasts or something to unlock it.
That's right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to like finish the camel and then do that, and then we'll probably do some side stuff too. But yeah, God, it's something that like people complain about Dragon Age and the shards, the Korok seeds. I don't know how everyone I don't know how you would collect all of those.
No, I think it's thoroughly impossible, but I do feel good about the fact that like at this point with like say 11 or 12 weapon slots and maybe like 7 or 8 shield slots, I'm like, I don't feel like I have to look for every single Korok seed anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely like are very generous with how many they put in the game versus like how many you need to unlock all the things. Like I know we were kind of comfortable where we were sitting with our inventory slots, but I think at one point we're like, I don't know, I guess look at a shield slot. I don't really, we have plenty of shield, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I was the same way.
Yeah. So, have you? We didn't unlock the. Maybe because you have to do one of the DLCs first, but there's like a motorcycle you can get.
I have not gotten the motorcycle yet. I heard it's awesome though.
It just looks so goofy. I want to get it really bad.
There's also an amiibo for Epona, which I'm not going to buy an amiibo, but God damn, I wish I could get Epona.
You with an emulator might be able to like mod it in or something.
Yes, no, you definitely can. I've already looked up how to do it, and I'm just like, do I really want to go through all this trouble to like find the site that has it, the files, or whatever? Like, I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. It might be fun. There's also ways, like, even if you have a Switch, you can, like, buy I forgot what the transmitter is, but, like, a little transmitter card and, like, download the code.
Yes.
And, like,
you can get all the codes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much cool shit with amiibos. You can get the Twilight Princess outfit for Link. You can get Wolf Link. You can only summon it once a day, but you get Wolf Link as, like, a little companion for a while. Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
Like, I have a couple amiibo, like, I'm not an amiibo collector. I just think, like, if there's a character I think is cute, I'll buy it sometimes. Like, I really like Zelda, like, the character, so I have one of her. So, like, we haven't used it yet because, like, apparently it gives you a decent bow, so we're, like, saving it.
Okay,
save it up. Stuff like that. But, yeah, we definitely have to get back to it. It's one of those things where, like, we have a backlog now of like things you want to play. Like I have Animal Crossing I want to play, and like we're like, well, we don't want to like fight over Animal Crossing versus whatever. Michael, I know it's not going to be. It's not. Well, it's supposed to come out in June, but apparently that's pushed back to July. But Michael's really wanted to play Death Stranding, because he likes weird games in his like.
Oh, I was gonna be like, wait, Death Stranding came out? You mean on PC?
On PC, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're not buying a PlayStation for one game. But I remember like because Michael doesn't like any spoilers. He doesn't want to know anything about the game. So when I was looking up stuff about the game and like going like, oh, what a weird game this is, which Michael kind of likes that weirdness. But it like I was looking at the gameplay, like Michael, all you do is kind of like walk around and deliver packages. It's like that's great.
It's awesome. I'll tell you what, man. Like he doesn't have to worry about me spoiling the game because I played the game for let's say maybe 10 hours, and I couldn't spoil it for him if I wanted to because I have no fucking idea what's going on.
That sounds about right.
It is. I don't get the story. I don't think I like the story. I think the story's kind of dumb. I said I don't know if I talked about this before on one of the shows, but Girlfriend Reviews
Oh yeah.
The YouTube channel did a review of it. I thought it was I think it's one of the best game reviews I've ever seen in my life. Like, they really talked about the themes underlying the story, and that made me want to play the game really more than anything. The plot and the dialogue seems completely ridiculous to me, but there, without spoiling it, there is sort of like a purpose behind the game that I really appreciate. And the the gameplay itself is like, if you've got a slow, sort of boring Saturday going on, it's kind of an oddly satisfying game to play.
Huh. Well, that sums it up. Sums our life up, I guess.
That's a lot of boring Saturdays right now.
I think we've both, because let's be real here. Well, also because this is going to be the purpose we're banking an episode. Like, we're having a baby soon. I think, like, because there's a baby involved in the story, like, there's some, like, idea we have in our head where, like, I'm on the floor with baby, like, trying to help it to walk or something, and Michael's, like, you know, playing the game where, I don't know, it's like a family bonding thing where we're trying to figure out what's going on with the screen baby and then our baby. Like, it's just like this thing we have in our heads that we want to do. So,
and not just that, but somebody else was saying, like, it seems oddly prescient that Death Stranding is a game, at least broadly, about a global pandemic, and the fact that delivery people are now the most important people in the world.
Actually, you're right. Wow. Okay.
They're like, holy shit, man! Like, that is, and the need for connection and all of this different stuff, and like sort of using an actual network and sort of unorthodox means of human connection. It's an oddly relevant game all of a sudden.
Yeah, wow. Especially like for us, since like with the whole baby thing. Yeah, it's gonna be weird playing that one.
But sort of similar to Zelda, I think it has a lot of. It's got that great aspect of sometimes just walking around and seeing what's the next place you can get to is enough of a motivation to play it. Like, you're just interested to see how far you can go and what's over the next hill.
Yeah. Well, since we're making these episodes shorter, is there anything you wanted to add on Zelda Death Stranding, I guess, because that just got thrown in the end, or Animal Crossing?
Zelda, I've never been a bigger Zelda fan in my entire life. And Ocarina of Time was a huge game for me. Like, I loved Ocarina of Time as a kid. That to me was the best Zelda of all time forever. And I thought Twilight Princess was going to be like the more mature Ocarina, and it was. And so then Twilight Princess replaced it. And kind of after Twilight Princess, like, I've never played Skyward Sword. And I've played most of the Zelda games that have ever come out. Not all the handheld ones, but the mainline Zeldas. I've played them all. And sort of after Twilight Princess, I'm like, this is it. This is the perfect Zelda game for me. It's Ocarina that's just sort of a little more mature and a little more modern at the time. And I'm like, there's nothing else from Zelda that I think I really want until I played Breath of the Wild. It is now sort of, it's really the first game that they've done since Ocarina of Time that is not trying to be Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
It's the first time they have planted a new flag and said, we're not trying to recapture the greatness of some other thing. We've completely wiped the slate and tried something completely new. And I know some of the hardcore purist fans will not like this, but I don't even think it's close. I think Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game, and I don't think I would really be able to enjoy going back to play Twilight Princess or Ocarina as much as I did anymore with the newness of the combat and the way that the gear works and the way that the exploration works in Breath of the Wild. I think it's the new standard for Zelda games, certainly, and for open world games. I think this and Red Dead Redemption are the absolute those two games are the new Skyrim, right? Oh. These are the two games that everyone is going to be rightly or wrongly trying to imitate in their own games for the next 10 years.
I do wonder, because they do have a sequel of Breath of the Wild coming out that was supposed to be a DLC, but then they got too big, so they're making it a new game. If Breath of the Wild 2 is just Breath of the Wild, but with different content, would you be upset about that?
No, I'd love it. I mean, give it to me like in every way, shape. Like, Majora's Mask is one of those games where it's a direct sequel to Ocarina, and it's the systems and the graphics and everything are basically exactly the same as Ocarina of Time, except they just came up with like a really kooky like time travel premise / plot. I wouldn't mind something like that, like a really off the wall story premise that maybe affects the gameplay loop. But if it was the same physics engine, the same graphics, basically everything, the systems are all the same, I'd be like, that's fine. They could even reuse the same map. I don't even necessarily need a new area. If it was just new storyline and maybe like new gear, obviously new weapons and stuff, sign me up. I'd be so ready for that.
I really hope Midna makes an appearance because, like,
Ooh.
I really love Twilight Princess as much as like part of me wonders if we go back to Twilight Princess, would that not age well? I don't want to find that out. But I like Midna would be so. I don't know. I just like her so much, especially like I feel like people are really nostalgic for the imp form, but I really liked her real form. I guess you could say like I loved that. I just want I guess. Do more. Oh, also, I hope we get to play as Zelda. Because people were speculating, oh, she cut her hair. Maybe that's because we can now use her in battle. Like, oh, yeah! I want to play as Magic Zelda! I want to do magic!
I think it's coming. One day for sure.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be fun. But I know there is a pretty extensive mod, apparently, for Breath of the Wild, where you play... I think they call her Linkle, where you play as a female Link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can play as Linkle or you can play as Zelda. There are mods for both of those. You can play as Wind Waker Link. You can play as all kinds of different stuff. You can do a character creator version of Link. You can make him look however you want within the other models they have in the game. Mm-hmm. All of that is very fun. I mean, I guess just real quickly on the emulator scene. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, that game looks so good in 4K. Like. You wouldn't believe, like, it's a good-looking game on Switch. Don't get me wrong. It's better looking and more impressive than I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. But it pains me that Nintendo does not commit to making a more graphically powerful system. Because I did download some, there are some texture mods as well. Like, some people made new textures and up-res some of the textures, but not the complete game. And there's a lot of that game vanilla that actually looks perfectly fine scaled up into 4K, and it looks beautiful, running at 60 frames per second. It pains me that a world that is designed so beautifully doesn't exist on hardware that can render it more faithfully.
They keep rumoring a Switch Pro that has a lot of updated stuff, so I wonder if maybe one day they'll come up with something. But whatever they have planned is not going to be released for a while because they've halted productions on Switches, and now there's a shortage as of the time we're speaking.
Right.
Anyway, I think that's where we end it now. Jordan, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me at The Exalted March on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Caitie, where can the folks find you?
Well, you can't right now. But,
that's true.
YouTube on Ghildirthalen and Twitter at the same name. I'm definitely on hiatus. I probably have some videos coming out unless something terrible happens. And then I'll probably be on Twitter tweeting about how I'm not sleeping anymore. But with that, guys,